Well, hi everyone, welcome back. Hi, it's good to see you. I hope you enjoyed getting started on your own life renovation this week. At first, it's difficult to start a process like this, and if you feel behind, don't worry about it. It's important that you keep moving forward, even if you haven't completed all the assignments and exercises. There's a lot here, and it's a big time commitment if you do everything. But the more you do, the more changes you'll make. No matter how much you do each week, or if it takes more than a week to complete each chapter, you're still in the process of change, and a little change is better than no change. So keep logging in each week and keep moving forward. This week, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your conscious versus your subconscious mind. We're going to learn how to create affirmations, take our meditation a step further, change the focus of our daily walks, and do some housekeeping in our kitchens. I think you're going to like this week. It's the week we start the process of change through some really basic challenges. The purpose of each challenge is to introduce you to a new way of being that you might enjoy adding to your daily life. Now, all of my suggestions are just that. They're suggestions. It's really up to you to decide what to keep and what to throw away. You're the ultimate creator of your life. So if there's part of what I say that you don't like or part of what we do, toss it. But if there's stuff you like, keep it. Now, imagine for a second that you've just been given a new job. So instead of working at a desk or at a service job, you've just found out that your new career is to be a lion tamer. Okay, so maybe it's my dream, but just humor me here. You step into the cage and there's this huge lion with giant teeth and big claws and big muscles, and it takes one look at you and it makes a quick decision whether it's going to eat you, attack you, or let you into its world. Now, this lion doesn't take the time to ask who you are and what your intentions are in his cage. He doesn't reason. He just reads the signs you're giving him and he acts reflexively. If you enter the cage with fear, the lion will respond to that fear by attacking. If you enter the cage with confidence, courage, and authority, you have a better chance at survival. Now, this wild animal reads your energy and makes a decision that is not based on reason, but in reflexes. In order to build a relationship with the wild beast, you can try a lot of things. Some work and some won't. In the beginning, you might try using a whip to keep the lion away from you, but that lion will just learn to fear you. Maybe you use food as an incentive to get him to do tricks, and he starts enjoying being around you as he sees the reward. Maybe you start offering a steak every time you enter the cage, and the lion looks forward to seeing you every day. Maybe the lion even allows you to pet it, and it becomes your friend. If this is how your relationship builds, then you're really lucky. But more realistically, trainers before you have treated the lion poorly. You find out that the last trainer quit on his way to the hospital after being attacked. So you start entering the cage with fear. You start yelling at the lion and using your whip more and more. The lion sees your fear and it responds. The lion sees your rage and it responds. And your existence together becomes a fight instead of a friendship. So how would you overcome this? Well, you have to rebuild the lion's trust. You have to be firm about your commitment to the animal's well-being. You have to constantly affirm to the lion that it's safe in your company, even if you're not sure that you are. But eventually the lion starts to turn around. And with a relationship built on trust, you and the lion can begin to work together. As a lion tamer, you have a huge responsibility to keep the lion under control. And the way you do that is through constantly affirming that the lion is safe in your company. Well, where am I going with this? Well, today's lesson is about taming your own wild beast, your subconscious mind. But before you can understand your subconscious, you have to understand your conscious mind. The conscious mind perceives and operates through our 5 physical senses: vision, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. During your walks last week and your exercises, you were giving information to your conscious mind about your environment. Now, it deals solely with the objects of the outside world and can discriminate and has the responsibility of choice. Your conscious mind has the power to reason, and because of that, we've spent our entire lives developing our conscious minds. Your subconscious mind, on the other hand, works behind the scenes, and the value of your subconscious is huge. It inspires us to do greater things. It warns us when we're in trouble. It pulls information from our memories when we run into someone we haven't seen in a long time, giving us not only their names, but facts about them and memories of times together. It accomplishes so much, so fast, and so intricate that our conscious mind could never keep up. So let me explain what I mean by that. I started playing the piano when I was 4 years old. Consciously, I learned each and every note. I worked hard to ingrain those notes in my muscle memory so that I could play entire pieces easily. Now, that ease and amount of perfection only came when I was able to stop depending on my conscious mind. the movement becomes habit. It becomes ingrained in my muscle memory, and it's controlled by my subconscious mind. In fact, because of the power of my subconscious mind, I could play piano and have a conversation at the same time. I could even sneeze and not even miss a beat. But as soon as I started rationally thinking about what I was doing, I'd get all tied up, my fingers would fumble, and I'd make mistakes. And musicians spend months constantly learning a piece and then spend even more time trying to shut their mind off so they can play it easily. We've all experienced this kind of transformation in movement. When you were a child, you learned how to climb a flight of stairs. You'll remember that you had to take each step one at a time, slowly, and you were instructed on each one. Within a few years, you were running up the stairs without even thinking about it. And now I see people taking 2 steps at a time, talking on their phone, or even reading books while they go upstairs. If you actually took the time to think about every step like you did when you were learning, you'd have to slow down and stop multitasking. Now I can guarantee you that if you moved at the same speed while thinking about each move, you'd just fall on your face. Whether playing Beethoven or whether you're walking upstairs, turning conscious thought over to the subconscious is the only way to achieve ease and perfection in movement. But your subconscious does so much more. Yes, it allows us to move our bodies without thinking, but it also controls our vital processes like our heartbeat and breathing and digestion. These processes happen without fail every second of every day. The subconscious mind is your body's grand central station, making sure that everything's working exactly right at exactly the right time. Millions of tasks happen at once with no room for error and no room for rationalizing. It just works. When you take time to think about it, you can be completely in awe of the permanent and dependable power of your subconscious mind. So let me get back to the wild beast. The conscious mind has the ability to direct our subconscious mind. So if your subconscious mind is like the lion, your conscious mind is the lion tamer, and it has a high level of responsibility to take care of your subconscious mind. Just like a lion tamer, with the right tools, the conscious mind can completely tame the subconscious and completely reverse the conditions in your life. The things that scare us, like fear, worry, poverty, and disease, often lead us into making false statements with our conscious mind. Now, these thoughts are accepted by the subconscious, which, if you remember, has no capacity for reasoning. So imagine trying to tame a lion when you're afraid of a bear in the next cage. The lion, it doesn't reason. It reads your fear and it reacts accordingly. Imagine suggesting to a lion that there's not enough food. Even though there's a huge steak in the next room, it will most likely eat you. Your relationship with the lion depends solely on your ability to present it with the truth. Similarly, when we are true in our conscious thinking, our subconscious cooperates. But when we give it false suggestions, the whole system falls apart. The subconscious, like the lion, doesn't have the ability to reason. It relies on its trainer to present it the truth and guard it from mistaken impressions. When the subconscious receives any true suggestion, it starts to work accordingly and it keeps the body in harmony. Just like the lion starts doing all sorts of wonderful tricks and follows directions to a T. When the suggestion is false, though, it creates discord in your entire being. The lion doesn't follow direction, and the conditions in the cage become chaotic. Now, the most dangerous position you can be in is a condition of unrestrained passion, whether it's excitement or panic or anger or fear. The subconscious mind will be open to all suggestions of fear and hatred and selfishness, greed, self-depreciation, and all other negative forces. The result is usually so extremely negative for the subconscious that it will endure pain and distress for a long time, and sometimes it never recovers. It thinks fast by intuition. It doesn't have the ability to slow down and reason. Just like a lion that's moved from fear to panic, it may never trust you again. Your subconscious doesn't forget. It only acts, and it does so 24/7. In fact, by plainly stating to the subconscious mind exactly what you want to accomplish, the forces are set in motion that lead to the result you desire. If it's accepted a wrong suggestion, it starts work on achieving that goal, even if that's not what you really want. The only way to reverse the process is by strong counter-suggestion, frequently repeated, which the subconscious must eventually accept. This eventually forms new and healthy habits of thought and starts to change your life. The subconscious mind controls your habits. What we do over and over has become just as mechanical as your heartbeat. It's no longer an act of judgment from the conscious mind. Training your subconscious mind is just as difficult as training a lion. This is great if the lion's been trained well, but if not, the remedy is to recognize the power of the lion and suggest present actual freedom from negative bonds. Our subconscious minds are the same. They need recognition and positive suggestion to get out of a negative cycle. Because the subconscious has the powerful ability to create, and because of our connection with the universal mind, it will immediately begin creating the freedom you've suggested. So let me sum up. The subconscious mind physically takes care of our vital processes, preservation of life and the restoration of health. It instinctively wants to preserve all life and improve our condition. Mentally, it's our giant file cabinet of thoughts, holding all these fantastic file clerks who work 24/7. It is our seat of habit, constructiveness, and initiative. Spiritually, it's where we get our ideas, our imagination, and it's through the subconscious that we recognize our true power. The subconscious is part of the universal mind, and we talked a little last week about the fact that the universe has the power to create. We can see it easily in the growth of plants. As humans, we've tried to put labels on what this universal mind is through religion, and we can put that aside for now and just accept that the universal mind in any form, whether it's quantum physics, metaphysics, or a deity, has the ability to create and is present in the thoughts of our subconscious mind. Since the mind is creative and thought is the only activity that the mind possesses, then your thoughts are also creative. The point of this lesson is to realize that there's a vast difference between simply thinking and directing our thoughts consciously, systematically, and constructively. When we're as careful with our thoughts as we would be with a wild lion, we can place our mind in harmony with the universal mind. Then we'll set in operation the mightiest force in existence, which is the creative power of the universe. So now that you've learned about how your subconscious is your creative mind and how your conscious mind controls your subconscious mind, you'll want to start to work on changing your conscious thoughts. So say you've been driving in the wrong direction. The only way to get back on course is to turn around and go back the other way. What I want you to do this week is look at the limits you wrote down in the guided journaling section from last week and rewrite them in a positive way. Don't worry if it feels completely false to you, it really doesn't matter. Lion tamer might be terrified of the lion, but he has to constantly reaffirm to the lion that he isn't afraid and the lion is safe. And the lion will eventually accept this as true. When the lion knows it's safe, then the trainer's safe, and it actually is true. The condition's been reversed. The same thing can happen in your life when you reverse your negative thoughts. And I want you to write these new phrases that you think would make the most difference in your life down on a note card or on a note in your phone and carry them with you. Read them every chance you get. These are called affirmations. Notice that the word firm is in the root of the word. If you firmly state these affirmations to yourself every day, eventually you'll find that they're true. So let me give you an example. One external obstacle could be, I hate my boss. The affirmation would be to turn it around and say, I have a wonderful boss. Another one would be like a physical limitation. I have type 2 diabetes. Turn it around. My blood sugar levels are healthy. Now, if you're struggling with either of these obstacles, saying these affirmations will feel completely ridiculous. Let me tell you a story about my first time with these kind of affirmations. So one example from my life is my clients cancel too much. So I switched it around. I said, my business is successful. I have plenty of clients. Now, in the beginning, I was operating in a mode of fear that I wouldn't have enough, and my thoughts were the cause of the effect. I didn't have enough. I allowed my clients to cancel because I expected it of them. I relied on my current clients without focusing on getting new ones. My business took a hit. So I changed my thought process. Within a year, I had clients coming out of my ears and other trainers working for me to pick up the slack. Now I have clients not only in Chicago, where I'm based, but also in a handful of other states and a few in Europe and Mexico. I've gotten to the point where cancellation is a relief because I kind of enjoy the time off. I don't believe this is the power of some metaphysical force, but the power of your own mind. Constantly changing your thoughts starts a chain reaction that leads you down a different path. If you're constantly focusing on how much you dislike your boss, you're going to be hyper aware of everything he or she does that annoys you. But if you turn your thoughts around, you might start noticing the things your boss does that actually makes you respect them. Sometimes it's even more complicated, like you might get laid off or you might be forced to find a better job with a boss you respect. With your health, it's the same thing. Having a limitation like diabetes makes it easy to use as an excuse. When you say to yourself, my blood sugar levels are healthy, you start to change your habits to control your blood sugar. This doesn't mean you stop taking medication or you start eating sugar. It means that you start to see ways that you can keep your blood sugar levels under control. And you make those changes willingly and happily, knowing that you are in control. Now, it doesn't always turn out the way you expect it to. Another example from my personal life, I was struggling in a relationship, and I changed my thoughts from, this guy is driving me nuts, to the affirmation, my relationship with Joe Schmo is easy and serene. The relationship didn't progress into anything substantial, but I stopped obsessing over the struggles and I enjoyed the times we spent together. The relationship did become easy and serene, never turned into anything better, and when it was time to move on, I was able to do so easily. And we're still friends in an easy and serene way, and in turn, I got exactly what I asked for. And instead of being driven crazy, I was able to turn it around. Now we're going to do another quick writing exercise this week. I want you to take one obstacle that really seems to be holding you back and convert it to a positive affirmation right now. If you feel comfortable sharing, write it in the chat instead of on paper. So I'm going to start. We're going to do 30 seconds. You can write it in the chat. You can write it on paper. And we're just going to switch one limit into an affirmation. Okay, so go ahead and start. It could be anything that's bothering you. And if you need help, just type it in the chat and I'll help you find one. All right, 10 more seconds. And stop. Very good. Now, did you get anything? Anything come up? Anyone want to add into the chat? All right, so if Aubrey says that her obstacle was a relapse with an injury. So you currently still have this injury, or the injury came back? Okay, so if the injury is back, then you know, think about what it is. Like, are you in pain? Is your movement limited? You know, what is it holding you back from? All right, she wrote, relapses are a part of healing and I'm well on my way to being healed. Is that too general? No, that's great. And I would even say, instead of even using the word relapse, like just get it out of there and just say, I am healing. It would be fine. Make it simple, keep it simple. Does that make sense? Yeah, you just turn it around. So instead of thinking like I am injured, which is, you know, people constantly think I'm injured, I can't do this. Then it's good for you to say I am healing. It's a process, it's change, and it's positive. Make sense? Anyone else? All right. So if you need help, like if you find that you have an affirmation that comes up, you can throw it out in the question and answer that happens after class too. Okay? So for this week, you're going to turn all 30 of those obstacles that you wrote down last week into affirmations and carry them with you. Read them as many times as you can. If you feel comfortable, put them in places you can see them, like on your desk. Write them on your bathroom mirror with a dry erase marker. You can put them next to your bed. You can put them next to your coffee pot, whatever. This exercise works best when you're constantly reading these affirmations throughout the week. This week, we're going to take our meditation a step further too. I want you to go to the same room, the same chair, and sit in the same place. And last week, we focused on just sitting still, which is harder than it sounds. For many people, it's not the act of sitting that's the problem, it's the panic of what you might be missing. You may have noticed that your mind came up with some really funny things that seem so urgent and in fact are really not. The world is not going to end because the dishwasher's done and you need to wait 15 minutes to unload it. Now remember, there was a time when we only got our mail from the mailman once a day. You're not going to combust because you feel the need to check your email. Now this week, I want you to be perfectly still like before, but this time try to inhibit all thought. Now this is virtually impossible at first, and it may never fully quiet down, but it's time for you to start controlling your thoughts over worry and fear. This clears the way to think only the great thoughts about what you really want for your life. As you're sitting, if you notice a thought come into your head, like the dishwasher or the email, write it down on a to-do when I'm done list, and then just let it go. You can come back to it later and worry about it all you want. But just like last week, try to sit for 30 minutes, and if you feel the need to get up, make a check mark. If you hit 5 check marks, go ahead and end the exercise. And we're still in training for meditation, so be patient with yourself. Even if you sit for 1 minute, you're building a new skill, and the only way to be successful is to practice. Now, tightness and pain in our body is controlled by our subconscious mind. Now, it's actually been found that patients under anesthesia are incredibly flexible, but when they wake up, they go back to their original tightness. And the phenomenon associated with this comes from our reflexes. It's the same system that tells you to take your hand off a hot stove. We have no conscious control over our reflexes. When you have an injury, big or small, your subconscious mind creates a reflex in the muscle to make sure that you don't have the same injury twice by making the muscles contract when they get to a certain point. The same thing happens when we have an emotional injury, whether it's anger, anxiety, fear, panic, or sadness. Our bodies hold these emotions in our muscles and create tension to avoid the fear. You can experience this by thinking of something that makes you really angry. You might feel your legs tense up and then your shoulders, and eventually it's in your hands and your face. When you process your anger, though, that tension goes away. But in our current society, showing emotion of any sort is socially unacceptable. So we tend to hold this tension inside instead of processing it. And we can get rid of this muscle tension through stretching, specifically resistance stretching. And in the next few weeks, I'll teach you a set of stretches to incorporate into your daily routine that can be done easily in a chair at your desk. By consciously removing this tension, you'll start to expand the range of motion that your subconscious allows before turning on the reflex response. Now, we're not going to dive into it just yet because we need to get in touch with our physical bodies first. For this week's body challenge, if you're enjoying your daily walks, I'm going to encourage you to keep up with at least 10 minutes a day. And this time, I want you to focus on areas of your body. So instead of thinking outside, think inside. Think of where you feel tightness and soreness and keep them on a list in your journal. By bringing the tightness to your awareness this week, we can make some progress with them in the weeks to come. Now, you've learned also through your lessons this week that what you feed your mind reflects on the health of your body and your habits. So one day this week, I want you to use the same lesson inside your kitchens. Now, it seems obvious, but what you put in your body reflects on your health also. And we've come into a world of convenience when it comes to food. Everything is easy and has a long shelf life, but at a cost. Most fat-free, low-fat, and sugar-free packaged foods have a long list of chemicals as their main ingredients. These chemicals need to be processed by your body, and they can be taxing on your digestive system, including your liver and your kidneys. Now, I have a policy in my pantry. If I can't trace it back to its source easily, I have no right eating it. For instance, did it come from a farm or a chemistry lab? Have a look at the ingredients in the foods you keep in your pantry. How many things could you easily buy in a grocery store? Could you reproduce that item yourself? Let me give you an example. I have the ingredient list from a popular pancake syrup. Now, refrigeration is not required for the syrup and there's no expiration date. These are the ingredients: high fructose corn syrup, water, salt, cellulose gum, molasses, natural and artificial flavor, sodium hexametaphosphate, potassium sorbate, sodium bosonate, and caramel color, and citric acid. The nutritional value, serving size, it's about 210 calories, 115 milligrams of sodium, 52 grams of carbs, 37 grams of sugar. This pancake syrup has 7 ingredients that I cannot buy at the grocery store. I found a better option: 100% pure maple syrup. Refrigeration is required. Pure maple syrup's list of ingredients is pretty simple. It's 100% maple syrup. There's nothing else in it. That's it. It has 10 less calories per serving, 105 milligrams less sodium, almost twice as much sugar, but it also has 8% of your daily value of calcium and iron. If you're going to eat pancakes, you have an option. While pancake syrup has less sugar, it also has a long shelf life and chemicals to ensure that. This means that bugs don't even eat it. If bugs don't eat it, you shouldn't either. Good food goes bad after a certain point. If you've ever tasted pure maple syrup, you know that it's richer than pancake syrup, so you're more likely to eat less. More importantly, pure maple syrup will provide you with calcium and iron, 2 things our bodies need to function. Pancake syrup has no nutritional value to you. My argument is that there are better options for you, and through the next few weeks, I will give you many alternatives that will help you enjoy more nutrient-rich foods without adding these added chemicals and modified ingredients. So your challenge this week is to start getting rid of anything in your pantry that has more than 3 things on the list that you can't buy at the grocery store. When you shop for the week, check the packages not for calories or for fat content or carbohydrates, but for ingredients. And if you must buy packaged foods, try to buy those that have 3 or fewer ingredients that aren't purely natural, things you can't buy in the grocery store. Ideally, there would be none. See if you can find a better option. For instance, instead of packaged taco shells, look for fresh tortillas. If you're buying salsa, look for a fresh pico de gallo in the produce department. I think you'll find your choices taste better and they make you feel better. Throwing food out can be a little intimidating and it can feel wasteful. You can donate packaged foods if they haven't been opened. But if you feel bad throwing food away, realize that you're doing this for your health. If this exercise makes you a little anxious, make a list of the things you'd like to find a substitute for from your pantry and keep an eye out for their replacement the next time you're at the store. This isn't about depriving yourself, but about finding higher quality foods that fuel you. So that wraps up today's lesson. This week is all about learning to control your conscious mind. So get out and walk, say your affirmations, meditate for as long as you can while in control of your thoughts, and go ahead, clean out your pantry. It's time to start the process of change to build a happier and healthier life. Now, before we log off, I'd love it if you guys could chime in a little bit in the chat about your experience from last week. Like, what kind of things did you notice about yourself and your surroundings? Like during your meditation or when you were walking? Or did you notice anything about your diet, anything that surprised you? Anything that you've been saying to yourself, you're like, what? I can't believe I said that. You guys have anything? All right. Lisa says she has celiac disease and she's gluten-free, so she deals with a lot of deprivation issues. Aubrey says the tracking process was great. That's good. And Robin says, I loved what being deliberately aware while walking freed my mind. That's great. Aubrey says it made her do some real thinking. That's good. That's exactly what we want. I really want to see that. So I think, it's a surprise sometimes when you start to listen and really pay attention to what's going on in your mind. Lisa said that's common. Awareness came easily. Meditation still doesn't. No, and it won't. It won't at first. That's why it's a practice, and we're still practicing. Still practicing for sure. And it will get easier and easier over time. Very cool. Do you guys have any questions about class today or anything about your affirmations? Any help with that? Any obstacles? Aubrey says, asking myself the right questions is the tough part for me, and that was good this week. Robin says she needs an affirmation for typing. We need autocorrect in this chat. I don't know why it's not there. It would make it funnier. Yeah, it's with Aubrey, knowing what the right questions are, it's one of the biggest challenges, and I think that's part of where the guided journaling is really important that you do answer these questions and take some time to really think about it, because we're not going to ask ourselves the right questions. We like to avoid the things that we're scared of or the things that hurt us. If we want to change things, we have to know what it is that we have to change, and a lot of times it's we hide that from ourselves. We don't know. We can just go through life being like, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing I need to change. But unless you ask yourself the right questions, you never know. Robin says, it's amazing how powerful it is to change your frame of mind about something. It really is. And it's not that, I think affirmations have kind of gotten this bad rap in the past about if I say this affirmation, everything's just going to magically change. And it doesn't magically change. It's all happening in your mind and in your body. And you're making the decision to turn things around. You really are. So it's kind of the thing with I hate my boss. I can be mad, and every time my boss comes into the room, I'm going to get tense and I'm going to get upset and I'm going to pay attention to the things that he does that make me mad. That kind of stuff will really affect you. But if you turn it around to my boss is really smart, instead of saying I hate my boss, it doesn't mean you have to like him, but it means that you can look at him in a different mindset. And every time you get mad, you just say, you know what, but he's a really smart guy. And then you can learn more. It's really powerful to change your thoughts. What else do we have? Anything else? Oh, Aubrey wants to know, how did everyone come up with a number for stress levels and happiness? Do you want to know what people's numbers were? Or do you just want to know, like, how do you decide what number to choose? How to choose. Okay. Oh, Aubrey says she ended up giving herself 1 point for every stressor. That's a good way to do it. I generally tend to go on like a spectrum. Like if, you think of like in medical context, they have certain numbers, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what they are, but like a 1 on the pain level would be like, just kind of achy. And a 10 on the pain level is like, I'm dying. Like those are pretty big differences. And then there's some in between that's like maybe like a 6 is like being doubled over, but like a 4 is like still being able to walk. So when I think of it, I think of like, where am I on my stress level today? Is it inhibiting me, or am I in an easy place? So you can decide from that level. Think of it like a spectrum. Robin says, do you avoid all processed food, or is there some healthy processed food in your opinion? Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is, when I'm talking about these processed foods, I mean, there are things that can sit on your shelf. Like I can still buy pasta, or I can still buy microwave dinners or soup, or, things that are in a can. That doesn't really bother me. But what I don't want are things like cookies that are made out of partially hydrogenated soybean oil, or, I'm trying to think of what else. Super crazy enriched foods that don't have any value, nutritional value to them. Oh, another one that kills me are these like fat food, sugar-free stuff. When you're, low-fat food, Aubrey says, is full of chemicals. It's so true. Low-fat foods, sugar-free foods. I mean, I went to my mom's house, and she is struggling, trying to figure out type 2 diabetes, and I cleaned out her pantry, and she had ice cream bars. She eats an ice cream bar every single night that I think dairy on the ice cream list was like 7 ingredients down. Everything else was fake, and it's full of so many chemicals that like even in a lab, for people to create the stuff that's in it would have to wear like a hazmat suit, like you don't want to eat that. That's horrible. So, these are the things that you want to look at. And what I say is that processed food is you're losing nutrition. You're getting calories and you're losing the good stuff. So you're better off eating the things that are living foods, like vegetables that come, meat, eggs, things like that, that are singularly fine by themselves. Does that make sense? And then when it comes to like, if I'm going to eat cookies, I don't want to go to the store and buy the cookies that are made from all the funny oils and like, I don't know what they are, but I want to eat cookies that like my grandma could have made. Make sense? Yeah, focus on real ingredients. Exactly. That's totally true. That's what Robin says. Got to focus on real ingredients. That's the key. If you can recreate it in your kitchen, it's fine. But really, I mean, when you're thinking of shopping, you want to kind of look at like, do I really need this food? Like, do I really need these snack crackers that have a list of ingredients this long when I could buy something that has more natural ingredients to it? Does that make sense? That doesn't mean like don't go out and eat popcorn. Like that's, 'cause popcorn's popcorn. Potato chips are like potato chips and salt. That's, it's potatoes and salt. But what you don't want are the things that are like these big long lists of chemicals. So have a look at that. You don't want to put that stuff in your body. Make sense? Good, good. Do we have anything else? Any other questions, comments? All right, looks like we're wrapping up then. Thank you guys for being here today. I'm super excited that we're all moving forward and you guys are all so communicative. That's very, very cool. Don't forget to check in on Facebook. If you haven't gotten the invite for that yet, let me know so that I can get you into that group. It's a private group. Nobody else sees our posts. It's only us. So check in on Facebook, share your experiences, and I will see you guys all next Monday. All right? Have a good week.